going to be talking about how the challenge of transformation has helped me think about the politics of doing development. It seems like a no-brainer. Of course the world needs transformation. The current trajectory is disastrous ecologically and socio-economically for the millions of people who are barely able to survive. The rallying cry of Agenda 2030, the nearest we have to a global commitment to promoting equality, security and environmental tenability, is after all about transforming our world. But scratch the surface, and this is far from straightforward. There's no blueprint for how to bring the values of SDGs to life. The concept of transformation is itself contested in definition, interpretation and application. There seems to be common ground in seeing it as, quoted from Brown, a profound, substantial and irreversible change, but how transformation is understood can affect the actions that follow, and questions soon arise when considering transformation and the politics of doing development. Why is transformation needed? What needs to be transformed and at what scale? How does transformation occur and what processes might oil the wheels? Who benefits and who doesn't? And most importantly, who is asking and answering these questions? These questions are highly emotive and political, rendering consensus extremely thorny. At the beginning of Block 5, I defined transformation as the process of moving from one state to another so that the end result is almost unrecognisable from the original state. This suggests an inevitable linear pathway to transformation, which is itself an endpoint. I now see that this is a narrow view. Scoones and Sterling talk about how singular notions of modernity and progress dominate development discourse, whereby homogeneous, narrow, predominantly Western views of economics and science are heralded as truth. Whether we're talking about green growth or smart cities, there's a sense from those with powerful interests that things are under control, which circumscribes debate for alternative views. In doing development, we should instead embrace uncertainty and political visions of progress which take account of different standpoints, of responses rooted in place, with the most marginalised centred in transformatory processes. This drive to give proper consideration to diverse forms of knowledge isn't new, but is itself part of the challenge of transformation for the politics of doing development. It's about the transformation of development practice itself. We see this, for example, in Gibson Graham's account of diverse economies to show plural economic realities already prolific. We also see it in Escobar's wholesale rejection of development and the underlying capitalist system as neo-colonial and responsible for perpetuating inequality. He champions instead the pluriverse of alternative visions for the future, where economic growth isn't a panacea. The challenge for development, as Dubois puts it, is to delink the baby of solidarity and global justice from the bathwater of ideas, institutions, and practices of development. If transformation is what Brown calls messy and unpredictable and non-linear, how can the politics of doing development contribute to these processes? In some senses, this ambiguity sits well with approaches to development that focus on going with the grain, working politically within an intricately understood context, and cultivating incremental change, which, it's hoped, will contribute to some form of transformation to positive outcomes. The balance of time and effort versus small-scale wins in doing development politically suggests minimal impact, though. But perhaps even small-scale incremental change towards transformation can have disproportionate implications. Encouraging agency and cultivating capabilities chip away at norms of society in ways that can't be planned or controlled. We can see this to a degree in the International Development Research Centre approach to gender transformative research, which seeks to generate transformation through working politically to address the root causes of gender inequality. A gender transformative approach is about understanding power relations, institutions and norms, and how they can be transformed, shifting the focus beyond women to the context within which they live. An example given is of increasing women's agency in the Zambian fisheries industry, using theatre for development to stimulate discussion on gender attitudes. Yet while the IDRC study shows early indication of shifting gender norms, it's acknowledged that sustaining changes in gender dynamics is challenging. So there are undoubtedly challenges for the development industry to be part of the solution. But if doing development politically means standing in solidarity, listening to many forms of knowledge, respecting alternative visions of progress, appreciating that there are many pathways to more equal, just, ecologically sound futures, this sounds like a transformation from the homogeneity of traditional Western development practices.